A position group that already had a lot of question marks somehow has even more now.
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie Five, and we are ready to get after a happy Tuesday Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Sorry, the weeks are flying by, and we got to stay caught up. We're going to talk about the tight end room today as Auburn loses a tight end to the transfer portal, Rico Walker. We're going to go over Auburn's undrafted free agent situation, let you know where some guys are going. So if you want to follow on Twitter, you want to follow along their pathway to the NFL, you can. And then big news, I say big news. I think it's good news. Keyshawn Hall pulls his name out of the NBA draft. We're going to go all over that here in just a second. But before we do that, we got to give a quick shout out to Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. Go to UncleKeith'sRedSauce.com. Use coupon code TheBarn30. This is the last day that you can save 30% off on your online order. Go on there, take advantage, try this amazing salsa. I know you're going to love it. And you can support an Auburn family at the same time. If you don't want to try it online, obviously you still got time. You can go to any Publix in the state of Alabama and get it there. But if you don't, you better go online today. And you better save so you can save big. So check it out. Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. It's good, y'all. I will say the tight end room this spring was intriguing, but you just really haven't heard anything out of them all spring. I did a show, several weeks ago where we went position by position group, and I thought there was some potential at the tight end room. You got some really interesting athletes with different skill sets, and most of that, honestly, was revolving around Rico Walker. I just think Rico had a lot of the traits that if you were looking for a Rivaldo Fairweather type receiving tight end, I thought the natural progression was really to slide over to Rico Walker. But for whatever reason, he decides he's going in to the portal. I think if you asked anybody to name like the position group they were most concerned about, I guess is the right word, or maybe just knew the least about, tight end room was going to be it. Between tight end and running backs, I think tight end was probably I don't want to say weaker. I just want to say the most question marks of any room on the team. And now you have even more. So on the surface, you're probably thinking, oh, it's no big deal. It's just a tight end. I mean, whatever. We got all these wide receivers. But Rivaldo Fairweather played 530 snaps to Peyton Thorne's 664. So virtually, there's probably some two-minute drill stuff I'm sure that we ran with maybe no tight ends. There may have been some times where he was a little bit banged up, but virtually he played every snap. Virtually he played every snap that Peyton did. Who is that guy? Who is that guy in this room? Hugh Freeze loves to run. He loves to have a tight end out there. And honestly, we ran a lot of two tight end sets last year. Luke Deal played 50% of the snaps that Rivaldo did. Rivaldo with 530, Luke Deal with about 280. Ran a lot of two tight end sets. So who's the two tight end set? I think you feel pretty confident that Brandon Frazier can play that Luke Deal role. But I don't know that you really have a guy that you can 100% rely on to be your multi-snap receiving threat tight end. Does that signify anything? Does that signify not does it signify, or will it require more wide receivers on the field? I mean, that would be the natural thought progression that, hey, if we don't have a true receiving threat at tight end, then we got to play more receivers. That could be a good thing. We've been wanting to see the ball spread around. We've been wanting to see more guys get snaps. Could this kind of signify that may happen? Now, look, I haven't heard much from Preston Howard. I know Preston Howard is a really good athlete. I know he hasn't really put up a ton of crazy stats. Could be the system that he was in, whatever. Played quarterback in high school, and he was more of like a running quarterback. So we know he at least has the athletic ability to be able to go and run routes and make things, run a route tree and try to make things happen. We know he's got at least that much ability. Hollis Davidson missed most of spring, I guess maybe all of it, but he's a true freshman. He would be your next probably biggest down the field receiving threat at tight end. Is it possible he just comes out and he's a rock star? Absolutely. He's got the top end speed, I think, to be able to play in the SEC right now. But does he have all the other aspects of his game that Hugh needs to see to be able to feel comfortable putting him out there? Just don't know. You didn't see it in spring. You've moved Tate Johnson over. He's listed as a tight end now. But again, he's not going to be your receiving threat. He's going to be more of your Luke Deal type tight end. I don't know. A lot of question marks there. Again, you go from having a tight end that was virtually out there for every single snap to you have no clue. We have no idea who is even going to come close to that out of this room. Not really sure what the motivation was for Rico to go to the portal. It kind of felt like it's a wide open competition. So maybe he kind of was tipped off, or he kind of felt himself slipping after spring. That could be a good thing. That could mean that, the guys behind him looked a lot better than he imagined. Just a lot of question marks there. I'm still holding out hope. I'm still holding out hope that Perry Thompson can play. Just don't want to have the stigma of calling it tight end, but that big slot position. I just have that. I'm holding out hope that becomes his niche, because I just think he could be phenomenal there. I really do. I think he's got the size and the athleticism and to me, aggressiveness. You got to be aggressive. You got to be fearless if you're going to play that position. And I think he has all that. I think he would be phenomenal as that big slot. A lot of question marks that Hugh and this offensive staff are going to have to answer at that position. There's really not anything much left in the transfer portal that you're going to be able to. There's dudes left at tight end in the transfer portal, but there's not anybody that you're going to say, okay, that's obvious. That guy is going to be the every down tight end that's on the field almost every snap, just like Rivaldo. I just don't see that guy that's out there waiting. I don't think it's going to happen. Also, brings a lot of question marks around Micah Riley. I mean, man, felt like it was your time to shine as he heads to Texas A&M. So a lot of work to do there. So again, we'll just have to see how that position develops, but it could be anybody's game. It could be anybody's game out of that room. We're going to talk about undrafted free agents here in just a second, but before we do that, let's give a quick shout out to mybookie.ag. Use coupon code BARN, BARN, for a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. Any sports betting line you can imagine, they got it. You can bet it any way you can imagine. They got that as well. So definitely check them out. mybookie.ag. Take advantage of that free play and win big. Then head on over to rowback.com. Use coupon code BUTTON20 to take 20% off your order. Hoodies, polos, shorts, swimsuits, everything. They got it. They'll get you ready for the tail end of spring and get you through summer with all the great looks that I love. I love their polos, man. I could buy one you could buy one every day. There's so many. But show them some love. It's rowback.com. We'll be back right after this. All right, let's talk undrafted free agents. You know, the football, the NFL journey does not end just if you don't get picked in the draft. I mean, there's a ton of guys that Auburn's had. I mean, there's a lot of success stories Auburn had, guys going as undrafted free agents, making a team and becoming long-time, NFL player, having long NFL careers. Happens quite often. There was several Auburn Tigers that signed free agent contracts. I think the most interesting one was Peyton Thorne going to the Bengals. The Bengals have a young rock star quarterback in Joe Burrow. But yeah, they signed Peyton Thorne there. So obviously wish him the best. I wonder what kind of system fits his skill set the best and what kind of NFL career he could have. I think a lot of people were really ugly on Twitter about it, but regardless, hey, he's got a shot. And honestly, that room's not very deep. That quarterback room's not super deep. So he could maybe find his way as the third quarterback on that roster. And hey, that's a pretty good gig. That is a pretty good gig. Jason Jones signed with the Baltimore Ravens. Talked with his dad during the draft, and if the Ravens had a pick in the 7th round, I think he would have gone there. They were talking to him basically the whole draft. So good for him. That's another guy that's been through a ton. So love to give him a shot. Love to see him get a shot in a true 3-4 system. I think he's a great NFL nose tackle. I think he could be a great NFL 3-4 nose tackle. Rivaldo Fairweather, Dallas Cowboys. I think he's a steal in free agency. I know that there were some times where you'd scratch your head with drops, but the athleticism is unquestioned. If he goes in there with the right mindset, I really think he can make a roster. He can make the Cowboys, and I think he could be. To me, he just reminds me. He looks like an NFL player. He looked like an NFL player for 2 years. Maybe he looked like the most NFL-ready player on the roster, arguably, of the last 2 years. So, good for him. One of the more shocking ones that went undrafted was Eugene Asante. He goes to the Miami Dolphins in free agency. That's a kid you just know. You're going to basically have to injure him for him not to make a team. Like, he's just going to outwork everybody. That's just what type of player he is. That's just what type of guy he is. You just know he's going to be able to make a roster. A little smaller for the middle linebacker. I think that's what pretty much cost him. But the speed's there. The drive's there. The mindset is there. The leadership is there. I just think he has all the things that these NFL GMs from an intangible standpoint are looking for. So definitely pulling for Eugene Asante there. The Minnesota Vikings apparently have somebody on staff. They must have an Auburn person on staff because they picked up a bunch of Auburn folks, starting off with Robert Lewis. I expected so much out of Robert Lewis. I'd love to know. I'd love to be a fly on the wall, or I'd love to ask the question, what exactly happened there? They targeted him early in the portal, in the winter portal from Georgia State. And for whatever reason, it just didn't quite work out. He played a lot of snaps, just didn't record a lot of stats. Obviously wish him the best of luck. Austin Keys, one of the, one of the steadiest guys on our defense. He just always was banged up. He's got the measurables that Eugene doesn't. He just was always banged up. Also goes to the Minnesota Vikings. Dorian Mausi, one of the surprises, like one of the guys you brought in for depth, ended up being a legit. I think he played the most snaps out of any linebacker. I mean, he was legit. He goes to the Minnesota Vikings. Oscar Chapman, punter, Minnesota Vikings. He had a weird year last year. He just had some games where there's nothing else you could say. He just missed the ball. He had kind of a weird year. So hopefully he rebounds. He can make a roster. And then Isaiah Rakes, the transfer from, Texas A&M to USC to Auburn. But he ended up being a really good player for Auburn. That true nose at 3-4. He goes to the Tennessee Titans. So the road's not the end of the road's not quite there for these guys. Obviously, we wish them the best of luck. I mean, who do you think's got the best chance to make a roster out of that group? I think it's got to be Fairweather and Asante, but I'd love to know. Oh, and Jason Jones. I think Jason Jones, Fairweather, and Asante, those guys have the best chance to have, let's just say, lengthy NFL careers at starting off as a free agent. Love to know your thoughts out of that list. Let's switch gears and talk basketball. Keyshawn Hall. This is no surprise, but Keyshawn Hall withdraws his name from the NBA draft. He was going through the process. I don't think anybody at Auburn was concerned. I think if they were concerned, he probably is not one of the first players off Auburn's transfer portal board, as far as that's the guy you got to go get, you got to secure, and you got to get him locked in. If that was the case and it was a little bit of a gamble, I think, Auburn it may have taken a little bit before Auburn actually nailed down that position, but he withdraws his name from the NBA draft. And I think the most interesting part is that's obviously an interesting storyline, but there's only 106 players that are going through the draft process, which is one of the lowest numbers ever. I think last year was around 200. And what do we think the reasoning is behind that? Obviously, it's NIL and NIL contracts. And the ability for these guys, hey, if I don't feel like second round projected guys, and maybe even late first round projected guys, can make more money now in college basketball than they can getting drafted. And it's guaranteed. You can get drafted in the second round and not make the roster. You're not guaranteed a roster spot. It's becoming more and more profitable. It's crazy to think, to play college basketball than it is to play NBA basketball if you're one of those fringe guys. Now, if you're one of those elite and you're going to be a lottery pick, it's NBA all day long. But if you're falling to the back half of let's say the back quarter of the first round into the second round, shoot, man, it's totally worth it to stay in college. I mean, you can make seven figures, high seven. I mean, you can make well over $1 million if you're a projected second round pick. Keyshawn Hall is a very good example. I mean, it's a guy that maybe projected in the second round, probably going to make $2 million this year. It's crazy, man. Look, hey, Keyshawn Hall is legit. I'm looking at some of his film, and it's like, man, he legitimately at any point in time could play 2, 3, or 4. He's got all the skill set to play. He's got the ball handling skill set to play. You get the ball at the 3-point line and be able to drive it to the hoop, bring it up the court. He can shoot threes, and he's big enough to where if you need to pound it inside to him, he's got a little mid-range to short-range game that I think could be really effective if Auburn wanted to go to more of a smaller, athletic lineup. Such a dynamic guy, such a dynamic player. I don't feel like we talk about him enough. Very, very excited about Keyshawn Hall. Auburn's still looking for that big man, apparently. I have no idea who that's going to be. It's kind of weird to think about. You just don't know how this roster is going to shape up if you're looking to add maybe one or two more pieces. I still think you need another ball handler, but I trust Bruce with my life. So if Bruce says we need a big man, then dadgummit, let's go get a big man. Guys, I really appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Let me know what you think about the tight end room. Who's the guy that's going to take over all those snaps that Rivaldo's leaving? Is there anybody on the roster that you feel comfortable with? Let me know who you think out of Auburn's undrafted free agents has the best shot to make a team and have a really long career in the NFL. And then let's show some love to Keyshawn Hall, man. Stud. Auburn's got a stud there. Guys, I really appreciate it. If you like the video, like it. If you like the channel, subscribe to it. We'll be back again every single day. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.